Ahead, I'll talk with Sandra Magsamen about her novelty board book, Silly Santa. Just in time for Christmas, this tiny book will help spread holiday cheer for the young children in your life. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. Sandra Magsamen is the author of over 200 books for children and adults. She's an author and illustrator of many books for young children, including the picture book When I Grow Up, I Want to Be Me, and several best-selling novelty titles. In addition to creating books, she's an artist, an art therapist, and designer, and joins us to talk about her novelty board book, Silly Santa. Sandra, welcome to the Kids Bookshelf.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we want to talk about this delightful novelty board book, but also want to talk about your philosophy. And you write books. You've written over 200 books for children and adults. You're an artist, you're a designer, and it's clear that there's an underlying philosophy for all you do and how you approach them. Tell us a bit about that.
Thank you. I am also, started my career as an artist, and then I became an art therapist. So I actually used art to help people communicate and connect and express themselves. And as that work continued, I realized that, we all want to connect, we want to belong, we all want to love and be loved. And so often, so many of the problems that come up in life are really due to a lack of our inability to communicate what we feel and what we think and what we believe in. So I began many years ago, almost 40 years ago, creating these little ceramic plaques that had messages on them. I called them messages from the heart. They were beaded from antique beads and, junk shops and stores. And I began selling them at craft shows. And before I knew it, I had this burgeoning business where my art therapy left the therapy room and hospitals and began really working out in the community. And I began writing poetry from that work. And when my daughter was about to be born, I wrote a poem for her, really making the promises. It was a love letter to our yet born daughter of, what I wanted to give to her in her life, to help her make her dreams come true, to believe in her, to welcome her. That book became a published a book. And then I began really thinking about how can I impact the lives of people on this planet in the skills that I have. And I love to write. I love to draw, as an artist. It's what I was trained in. So I began writing poetry for children and combining it with my imagery, but not only just with images, with ideas to help books become more interactive. So for the last 25 years, I've been creating novelty board books, is what we call them in publishing. So they're books, if you see them in stores, that have ears. I Love You, Honey Bunny is a book about loving your little one, but it's a little bunny with ears, real literal stuffed ears coming out of the top of the book, with tails, with lips, the flaps, with mirrors. Any idea that we can enhance the story with a novelty. I Love My Blankie is a new book I just wrote, and it has a blanket that's woven throughout the whole book. So there's a blanket for a child to hold on to as the parent or the grandparent or the caregiver is reading that story to the child. So now books become soft and engaging, and the message is carried with the child along with the book. So it is a real philosophy that I've had for many years, where I'm weaving in developmental milestones, the idea to give children agency, belonging, self-esteem, love, as they grow to be all they're meant to be. So the books are always woven with those messages. They're all love letters to our children. And it's just been a real lot of fun coming up and inventing new ways to do that and make a book even more enhanced by adding these components and these interactive novelties. I've been blessed to work with Scholastic for the last 25 years, and they've been incredible partners in really making these novelty components not only beautiful and expansive in the industry, but safe and just incredibly wonderful. So I have a great team that I work with there. So it is really a group project. It's a labor of love with all of us, from design to sales to editorial. They're all engaged in this collaboration. So it's a conspiracy of love, and we're spreading it all over the world.
Well, and just in time for Christmas, there's Silly Santa. And like the other books, it has Santa's legs that are sticking out of the top. And it's not so obvious from the cover, but when you open it up, each time the page, Santa's upside down there and his legs are sticking out the top. Tell us about what readers are going to find here in this novelty board book.
It's a celebration of the season. It's really looking at, the question I ask myself is, why is Santa so merry and so jolly? And I came up with the answer. It's because he loves a good joke. He loves a good pun, and he's just a good time. So Santa gets to share his jolly, laughable self throughout the whole book, and tells jokes throughout the whole book. And what's so wonderful about it is that it's within that whole framework of helping children belong and connect. And when a child learns the joke, they'll memorize it from being read to by their parents or grandparents. Then I imagine them sitting at the table and sharing the joke at the dinner, at a lunch, at breakfast, and really feeling self-esteem and agency, and feeling proud of themselves that they could tell the joke. And then, of course, they make up lots of other silly jokes afterwards. So it's in that spirit of just giving that child a lift, and helping them, be a part of that beautiful celebration, that family celebration. And the jokes are simple, they're short, they're memorable. So kids of this age can really play a part of bringing some merry and some jolly to the holiday too.
So, for what age would you recommend the book?
I think it's really great. I would say mostly 2 to 5 years old. 3 to 5 probably the sweetest spot of all.
Santa shares some silly jokes here because he's Silly Santa. Can you share a couple of them with us?
I certainly can. What kind of photos do elves take?
I know the answer to that, but elfies.
Elfies. What did Santa say to the Christmas tree?
If I'm remembering correctly, it's like lighten up.
Lighten up. That's right. Yeah. One of my favorites is, what do snowmen eat for breakfast?
Frosted Flakes.
That's right. So they're fun and punny and, just delightful, I think. And, hopefully we'll bring a lot of laughter around the table.
And given its small size, it looks like it could work well as a stocking stuffer.
I think it's just perfect to pop right in a stocking. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for people who would like to learn more about the work you do, you have a website. Would you share the address with us?
It's my name, Sandra Magsamen, .com. I also have an Instagram that shares, kind of day-to-day what's happening in our world. And on the website, I invite people to go on and learn about me if they'd like, but also there's tons of activities and coloring pages that are free. You can just pull off and share with the little ones, and for teachers, it's great for schools. And there's lots of stories there too.
I'm talking with Sandra Magsamen about Silly Santa and her work as an author and artist, and our conversation will continue in a moment. If you're enjoying this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. And thank you. Well, we talked a bit about your philosophy behind all of the things you do, and it appears to be successful. It's been able to touch people in a lot of different ways, and it's kind of helped families communicate with their children. What advice would you give about, reading to your kids and just kind of helping bond with their children through books?
Well, yeah, I am so grateful that this really has resonated, and I think it has for a very simple reason, is because we all love our children. We all want them to be everything they're meant to be. And it's really, I call it the science of loving our little ones. All we have to do is hug them and love them and spend time with them. That's all they want. And that's really what they need. And the sooner we can read to a child, sit with them, the act of reading, when you're reading with a child, you're sitting with them. They're next to you. You're heart to heart. That alone is therapeutic, and that alone is loving. So I think the more we can read, kids begin to identify words. In my books, they're all rhyming, so they can begin to memorize the stories pretty quickly. They can begin to memorize words and begin the process of learning to read naturally, without stress and without, an upset. I think just these stories are entertaining, they're fun, they're silly. And at the same time, the message is always, you are perfect just as you are. celebrate yourself, celebrate the differences, celebrate your friends. They're uplifting, they're entertaining, they're fun, all the while helping a child develop, those incredible neurons that, grow the most from 0 to 3. We really want kids to be as engaged and as active as possible. And it doesn't have to just be sitting and reading. It can be the play that comes from reading a book. It can be the play that comes from spending time together, singing songs, dancing. All of those just help our children to utilize all the capacity that they have. And that's just plain love and just loving your child every day in every way that you engage it's as simple as that. So I just say, have fun, enjoy, play. These days go so fast with our little ones. Before you know it, they're grown up. And it's just a magical time. So I just say, enjoy it and have fun. And there isn't anything that doesn't help a child grow, when you just love them.
I like to think of it as the gift of reading, because you're sharing this gift. If you do it in a way that instills a love of books and reading with kids, it helps set them up for success in life.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really all every parent wants. All over the world, we want our children to be happy and successful and feel like they belong. And books really, I think, are the gateway to do that. They are a tool that can do it. And in my books, it is, I do it in a specific way, with interactivity and engagement and plush animals and mirrors. But there's so many authors who have their own unique ways to open those doors to kids and to families. And I just think the more you can do that with your children and with yourself, because it's a gift to your children, but it's also a gift to moms and dads and grandparents too. And it just brings you closer. And I think that's what we all want. And I think the holidays really reflect that. And it's a framework for just belonging and being together.
And it sounds like this has been very fulfilling for you as an artist and art therapist, as you're continuing to express your creativity. You've done so much. Are there still areas that you'd like to explore and find new ways to be creative?
Yeah, absolutely. And I am so grateful. I mean, I have the best job, and I don't even think of it as a job. I have the best life. My daughter works with us now, and so she's creating with me. I have incredible women and teams at these companies that I work with. So it's really been such a fulfilling life. I'm grateful. I also work here in Vermont. We started a program for children for them to learn how to grow their own food and to understand where food comes from and to make healthy food and make healthy decisions. So I want to continue working in that area. I'd love to do work where we could create. I love to invent formats. I want to work to help children who, potentially are in refugee camps. We've come up with some ideas where we can print a book on just a black and white printer at any camp or facility around the world, and they can be folded to actually create a book. So children can learn another language if they need to. Doctors can help speak to children as they're helping to address their physical needs by working within these books. So I'm really excited to work more in the nonprofit sector, where we can actually bring books in an innovative way that costs nothing, because cost is always an issue in getting these things out. But that's really important to me. I just worked this year with a group out of South Africa called the Hippo Roller. And the Hippo Roller is this large drum. So it's a barrel, and they put it on basically a wheelbarrow. So women who are charged in those countries of going to fetch water for their families and for their villages, it's very dangerous and it's very time consuming. And the children also are doing it, so they can't go to school if they're doing that job. So I wrote a book called Hip Hip Hooray, We Have Water Today, about the Hippo Roller and about how it really helps women and children in these villages. And this organization is now using it to raise money for buying more Hippo rollers for villages that need it, for women who need it. So I see myself moving into that area where how can the work that I do impact the lives of women and children specifically in that way, but the lives of others all around the world. I think books change lives and books matter, and how can we use them in new and innovative ways to make a difference? That's what I'd like to do.
The Novelty board book is Silly Santa by Sandra Magsamen. Sandra, thank you for talking with me today.
It's really been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
If you'd like to purchase Silly Santa, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. Thank you for watching this edition of the Kids Bookshelf. I'm Dan Skinner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.